Well, a very good morning and welcome to UBC TV GME Agenda. My name is Jagenda Semakola. It is the 21st of December 2015. Now, this day just brings us close to the end of the year. And on the 31st of December, most and the rest of us will be at the Passover Festival in Nambole Stadium, Mandela National Stadium in Nambole. That's where we'll be. And it is an open invitation to everybody. Come and be part of what is going to happen there. And also remember that UBC TV will, of course, cover that event live. The 14th Passover Festival event convened by the presiding apostle, Dr. Joseph Serada, and the Victor Christian Center Church in Deva. Very welcome to all of you. And actually, Apostle Dr. Joseph Serada has just sent me a message here to say, invite the people, tell them it is a meeting for all Ugandans to come and pray, thank God, and of course, to cross over to another year, passing over to another year. The event is on the 31st of December, and you're all most welcome. UBC TV will bring it live to you. Who will not manage to come, especially those who are in Tanzania, Bujumbura, Burundi, and wherever you're watching this program right now. Now, with me in studio this morning is Julius Mukunda from the CSBAG, a civil society organization that looks at budget advocacy in Uganda right here, and for very important reasons, because the budget paper was actually released, and legislators, members of parliament, as they work towards concluding this other session of the 9th parliament, we want to look and delve into the issues there to see what really happens there. But before we get into that, we'll just run you back to 1990. So many years ago, when President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni visited Kisizi Hospital in the company of Dr. Kiza Besigye. And of course, Honorable Mama Mbabas was also a part of that entourage. You may not see him in this video, but he was part of the delegation that visited that hospital in 1990. Let's see that, then return shortly.
Your Excellency, as Chairman of the Board of Governors of this place, to welcome you. And we feel very warm to see you because this is the first time ever to receive the leader of the state in this hospital. The aims of the hospital remain the same as when it was dedicated in 1958, to bring life in all its fullness.
Well, thank you so much. And that was 1990, 25 years ago. Now, the business of visiting hospitals has not just started now. It's been here from at least the time we started knowing about these things. Now, that was in Chisizi Hospital in 1990. Now, from all that, the budget framework was released. What next? Two Ugandans. You're welcome, Julius Mukunda.
Thank you.
A very good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
What does that mean to the people of Uganda, and why are you most interested?
I mean, it's the budget is the most important instrument we can ever have. And I tell people that without the budget, then me and you would be in another state of mode at this particular moment. And that's why it is done annually, and that's why every Ugandan must get interested, even members of parliament. But basically it is that this national budget framework paper is government telling Ugandans that, look, for the next financial year, which is going to begin July to June, yes.
July 2016 to June 2017.
Yes. And this time we have started early because of the new law, because we have been doing it late. But we have started earlier to the new law. It is telling us that this is where we're going to get the money from. And this is how we are likely to spend the money. Please make your input. And it is brought to Parliament, and Parliament conducts, our representative are supposed to conduct public hearings so that we know how much is health getting, where they're getting the money, who is losing out, whose money has been cut, why have they cut it, who is getting money who we feel that they are not doing very well. And as Civil Society Budget Advocacy Group, that's our core work. That's what we do, to guide and provide alternative proposals of telling government that we think it would have been better if money is put here and not here. And that's what we do. So this national budget framework paper, we are seeing that the national resource envelope has increased from 18 trillion to 19 trillion, which is good. It means that the government has found new ways of collecting money. The taxation.
So it has increased from 18 trillion to 19 trillion.
To 19 trillion. So there's an additional almost a trillion that has been added, which you think is very good. But in terms of revenue, we think we can actually even do better, because when we are measuring how much we can collect from our economy, it's called tax to GDP ratio. It is still very low. And we are saying that we actually would have done even further more than that. Let me give you one example. How many Ugandans pay property tax? Very few do property. Very few do property tax. And I can tell you is that another part is that.
But I think not on the property tax, yes, or even all the other taxes, Ugandans don't want to pay taxes. And I think Ugandans want somebody else to pay taxes for them. That's when you increase the tax on anything, Ugandans will quarrel. They want somebody. Julius wants Jagan to do it for him, and Jagan wants Julius to do it for him.
We all look at MTN. We should tax more of MTN. But you see, taxation is the price we pay for civilization. If we as a nation want to grow, we must pick out of our pocket and deliver. The challenge is that whenever we pick out of pocket to deliver, the services sometimes do not reflect what we pay. And that's where the crash becomes. And we are telling Ghana that it is our duty. Because right now I can tell you that in the Ministry of Finance, every time it releases a coin to Jagenda, it puts it in the newspaper and says, do you know what, you guys? We have sent money to Abim district for the following: water, health, education, and for these particular services. Please go there and check whether actually this man has received. And for us at CSBAG with our membership, that's what I've been doing. We go out there to see how did the money for the borehole arrive. And last year we knew that money would arrive late, but as we kept on pushing Ministry of Finance, the time release of funding is at 90%. Money reaches on time. Now it's up to the service delivery points to implement. which has been a very big
How do Wananchi come in now? How do Wananchi come in now? You as a civil society budget advocacy group,
Yes.
CSBAG, you do your bit, you push them now. Minister of Finance releases money up to about 90%, like you say.
Yes.
And this money gets to the villages. It gets to Moroto, it gets to Abim, it gets to Chisizi, to Kabala and everywhere. Now the money gets everywhere. Now, how do the Wananchi come in? When you talk about budget today, I am only thinking a Kawaida Ugandan may not understand what you're actually talking about, because Ugandans know, they only hear about the budget in June when the minister is going to trust the budget. They only hear about the budget again in June when the thing comes on. Now they don't expect to hear budget in December at such a time. Where do Ugandans come in now, and in all that you're doing, in all your advocacy, how do you factor in the average Ugandan?
Now that has been our biggest challenge, that me and you hear the budget in June and everybody like, what? And even this year is more challenging because there are elections. Everybody is on the campaign trail. But somebody's cooking food for the next financial year. And I can tell you, the moment the budget speech is read, pop, like this, a new budget cycle starts. So this year around, we are so vigilant that there are the local government budget consultative meetings. And we traverse the whole country with the Minister of Finance and those to ensure that whatever they are discussing, citizens' views are part of it. In fact, our membership covers almost 80% of the entire country. So we collect views from our citizens. What do you want in education? What do you want in health? For example, people are telling us that with education, the quality has tremendously gone down. We need inspectorate to be improved.
Okay, let's talk about that. Why do you think it has gone down? Isn't the money there? What is it? Because why should it go down?
I think our argument right now is that the money is there. Yes, it might not be enough, but it should deliver what the amount it has allocated to that particular institution. But teachers are not teaching. Absenteeism is extremely very high. We have also found out that actually even the money that reaches, sometimes head teachers also use it for their own benefit. To the extent that children who go to school actually cannot get the right education. And the report is telling us that a P3 to P7 people cannot do a small calculation for P2. So what we have decided is that we have launched our campaign now is around funding for inspectorate. Now that is the unfortunate part. When we have made the calculation, we found out that to inspect a school in this country for entire year, budget has allocated 940 shillings.
940
shillings. There are no other zeros. 940
shillings.
If you
to inspect a school.
To inspect a school for a whole year.
And how many schools are we talking about? We're talking about hundreds of.
You're talking about all universal primary schools, primary education schools, and also actually including secondary schools. So we are saying that we need serious investment in the inspectorate department. Otherwise, the inspector of
why do we need money to inspect a school? Why can't we just do it? Why do we need money to inspect a school? Why can't we use it?
Because as human beings, you find that if you are in a primary school, you have out of 7 teachers, probably 5 of them have different agendas. We have heard of teachers who are doing border services. We have heard of teachers who are running businesses. So instead of arriving at 8:30 in the morning, the guy arrives at midday. And there is this whole argument, oh, teachers, they don't have enough to pay. But when you compare our pay to some of the private schools, when you compare, and private schools are performing, yet they are even being paid less than the government institutions, then there will be a very big question mark. I'm not saying that we shouldn't increase their pay. We do, they need to. But like a colleague told me, said, Julius, if I'm giving you 10 shillings, please produce what 10 shillings can do for me.
I will not demand for 100.
I'm not going to buy a qualification of 100 shillings. No, give me the value
of 10
shillings. But if I give you 10...
And you give me a value of 1.
You give me a value of 1.
You cheat me 9.
I'm being cheated. Because if my neighbor
is that what now happens in most of our schools? Because
so that is exactly what is happening in most of our schools. That's what exactly is happening in most of our health centers. That's why you find that a water point built by a private institution in a certain village functions throughout the year. But a water point built by a government functions for only 3 months.
Just after the launch?
Why?
After
the launch, the thing just does. Simply because that responsibility to say, this is ours, dies out completely. And therefore, when we come to this national budget framework paper, a number of things that if it doesn't fix, then we keep on losing the money. Let me give you an example. We just realized that there's AGOA unit, for example. The AGOA unit. they want an additional 500 million Ugandan shillings. But I've never seen a report from AGOA. I don't know what they do. How much export do we send to the United States as a result of us establishing it? Now, these are some of the units within the government where we can say either we review their existence, strengthen them, or shut them down. But why are we doing that? Simply because we want more money so that we can even put in the inspectorate. Because the resource envelope is limited. That's the fact. It's limited. So when you save from those, then you invest in the inspectorate and then it works out. You have tourism. Tourism has even suffered a budget cut. But tourism is one of the biggest investments, one of the biggest ventures this country is getting money from. When you go to Rwanda, to Kenya, they are pumping lots of money in tourism. Actually,
how much are we pumping into tourism here? And we're pumping in out of
we are pumping in, we have 300,000 US dollars for marketing. Kenya pumps in more than $15 million. Rwanda pumps in more than $5 million. I didn't know that more gorillas are in Uganda than in Rwanda. I was told.
More birds are in Uganda than anywhere.
Than anywhere, but Rwanda gets more of gorillas, of tourists who are going to visit gorillas than in Uganda. So when they reach Rwanda and they only find 2 or 3, then they come to Uganda to see the many. So we benefit by accident. But you can't be a country and you keep on benefiting by accident.
What problem is that now?
Now, the problem is that we need to invest in marketing and tell the people that actually the biggest number of gorillas are in Uganda.
Yeah, but we also need to ask questions. How much has the 300, the 3,000, you say 3,000? 3,000?
Yes, $300,000.
How much has that done so far? Because we also need to know that how much has the 300,000 done marketing for us? Because if tourists come and go see 2 gorillas in Rwanda, and we have a couple of them here, then we need to question and say, what happened to you?
So, for tourism, the beauty of it has performed. This year they have won a number of accolades on international tourism expos. And I think that's good enough to say, let's pump in more money. For tourism, I venture for it, that we need to pump in more money and see what happens. But we need to specifically look at those social sector services that have a direct impact on the people. Talk about...
Yeah. Julius, let's get back to this framework that was actually released now. What is in this for the Mwananchi? Because Uganda, this is what Ugandans understand. When the minister is reading the budget to us, the minister of course tells us, we've increased this by this, we are growing by this percentage, and this is what we've put there. And we expect that on the 1st of July, as we start another financial year, then the Ministry of Finance will start remitting these monies to go to this department, to go to this department, to go to that department, and of course we expect services to start working. Now we talk about a framework in the month of December. We just have 2, 3, 4 days to Christmas, and then people's moods are now festive. People's moods are into Christmas. People think about going to villages. They're actually thinking, or will they increase? Will Chisizi coaches increase prices from Kampala to Chisizi, or it's going to stay as it's been? What is in this framework that a Ugandan should actually have interest in it, to even maybe demand a member of parliament to say, you are coming back to us asking for a vote, but this is what we hear is in your framework. What does that have to mean to them?
Let me tell you one thing, for example, in health. The good thing is that we are seeing a slight increment in the health budget, but there is one important, there are 2 things I just wanted to mention. One is that we are having a shortfall in the health budget. That means that the AIDS, we are like the antiviral drugs, they have a shortfall of 151 billion. So as a citizen, please call your MP and say, please, money, we need reallocation within the health sector budget to ensure that antiviral drugs are put in place. The aid trust fund, which is by law, is supposed to be established, has never been established. So please call your MP and tell him, please, this law needs to be established, a fund be created to deal with HIV prevalence. Staffing gap in health. They have a staffing gap of more than 87,000 people, but they're only going to recruit 850. So staffing gap in health personnel is a very big issue that needs to be addressed. So we need MPs to look at that and say, please, these should be the key priorities within this particular sector. So that is your health. Education, we are seeing also a certain increment, but the challenge with education, of course, I've told about is inspectorate. You cannot allocate 940 shillings to inspect a primary school in the whole year. You won't even go there. So probably you will combine all the money, instead of 10 schools, probably visit 1 or 2. So we have a serious issue with education, and we think that money needs to be reallocated and done with that. Our agriculture, yes, we appreciate. We have seen a slight improvement in agriculture sector. Currently, it's now standing at 627 billion from 480 last year. We are seeing a very good improvement in that particular area. But as they say, that before you ask more, first keep what you have in your armpit. Is that there are some critical issues within the sector that nothing else should take place but apart from those ones, but they are not happening.
Which are these, for example?
One is the extension services.
In agriculture?
In agriculture. The current new directorate of extension services, because you see, this extension services is the guy who goes to the field now to help you say, please put your crops in line. This is the right variety, don't you use this one, do it like this. I mean, we have an acting commissioner in it, not yet a permanent job. That's number one. Number two is that they also have a funding gap of 0.9 billion. So, and yet this is a critical ingredient in promoting the productivity of agriculture sector. It's not happening. The second one is financing. Although there is an agricultural facility, but we lack an agricultural bank. These mainstream banks will never deliver us from improving our agricultural productivity. When it rains for them, it's not an issue. When there's dry season, it's not an issue. But if you have an agricultural bank, they are able to understand the seasons. They will give you money according to seasons. They're even able to advise you on what you're going to grow and what you're not going to grow. So when you come to agriculture, those are the key most important elements that we feel are very important that can be happening.
Who are the people who are making the framework? Who are those who make the framework that they do not look into these things? Who are the stakeholders when these things are being made? Who are these people that we engage to get into that? Because you could be talking about agriculture and you engage people who do not know what agriculture is.
But I mean, I think the whole thing we also want to say is, who dare develops a budget that lacks these critical elements? How can you budget for agriculture and then you lack these core important elements? I think it goes back to our tradition of budgeting, that you look at last year and look at this year and plus inflation, and then you add up the new budget. And that's why I'm saying me and you and all our Ugandan citizens need to tell the people who are seated in these offices in Kampala that it's no longer about workshops. It's about delivering on new things that we need. And who composes it is that sector ministries sit down and do a proposal, send it to Minister of Finance. Minister of Finance puts it together and sends it to Parliament. Parliament debates it. Now, what you are asking is, why can't Parliament even say, please, these are critical issues, put them in? But this financial year, they had a whole year to debate the budget, but they're going to debate it for up to Wednesday and close the shop. Why? Everybody's busy in elections. You meet some of them, they're telling you, Julius, come on, we are very busy, we can't be in Kampala here.
And we're looking for the vote.
We are looking for the vote.
We want to come back here next
time. In one way, they are right, but at the same time, we elected you up to May next year. Up to May next year. Please, can you deliver on some of these things, especially the budget?
So I remember talking to those even who lost in the party primaries, and they're sure they're not even coming back.
Actually, my understanding was that if you have lost,
sure.
If you have lost, now you have more time in the parliament. If you have lost, you should be having more time in the parliament. But I think for me, this is very critical, that parliament is not likely to give the right time this national budget program it deserves.
Where does that put us? Because we're now talking about they should have debated this thing for a month or
so. And you are giving it 1 week.
Exactly. I think it's coming back to Parliament tomorrow.
Yes.
It's coming back to Parliament tomorrow, yes. And I think tomorrow and maybe Wednesday or Thursday, they'll be going for Christmas, and they'll be closing business. What does that now leave with us? And how sure are we? Because we don't know. At the end of the day, we may only start demanding for a quorum if we are very much interested, like we did to the gay law, the anti-homosexuality law. That's when we demanded for. But we have so many laws in Uganda that we even debate without quorums and stuff like that. Where does that leave Ugandans. Now, we look at a very big thing. Now, we all know that a member of parliament, apart from representation, one of the biggest things is budget appropriation. It is very, very important.
They can do that and go home.
They can do that and go home. The rest of the representation, people actually are even not much concerned about that. Now, it comes at a time, and this is very critical to them, and it's not been given that attention. Where does that leave us now with our parliament, and because they even don't have time to do these things?
I mean, for me as a citizen, it's a loss for citizens if the government, if our parliament is not going to allocate enough time to debate such an important document. A loss in terms of our participation, when we want to participate effectively. A loss in terms of resources being misused and allocated to those expenditures that we don't have. Also remember that this is an election year. We needed a what the law, the public finance management talks about, that we need it's a report needed before the elections. To show that the status of the economy, that actually before election, this is how our economy was. After the economy, you also show that this is how the economy was. So that we can never tell whether our money was used for campaigning and electoral financing. Now, if they are not there to discuss it and look at it, then it means that at the end of the day, if our resources are misused, nobody will tell because we don't have a benchmark.
And let's actually go back to 2011. After 2011 elections, we had an inflation that was too biting to Ugandans. This time round, it doesn't seem to be like that, because as actually speak now, you go to people and everybody says, how come these campaigns do not have money? Because Ugandans are used to having money during campaigns. People buy plots of land during campaigns. People buy cars during campaigns. You know, there are people who have never driven cars, and the only time you see them driving cars is during elections. Yes. And you tell that so and so is a campaign manager or agent for X or Z, and that's when you see them now. This time it doesn't seem to be like that. Let's get back to that. You as CSBAG, are you looking into these things, especially election funding and financing?
Yes.
Are you managing these things? Are you looking into them? And do you think we'll have the problem that we had in 2011 after the elections, where we had our inflation shooting to where it had never been, actually?
Actually, we are very worried, because all the conditions state that we are not actually doing very well the way we're supposed to be. We are at the backdrop of a depreciating shilling. That's number one. Number two, we have serious rains, and we are in the campaigns. So
and I think the other time,
how many people are in the
other time it was a drought. This time it is now too much rain.
Too much rain, and we have a campaign. Now remember, more than 50% of the inflationary basket, how it is calculated, is contributed by food prices. Now, if we are not going to have enough food by March next year,
which is likely,
call me here, inflation will be in double digit.
It shall have gone back.
It has gone back in double digit. Now, these campaigns right now is that people might not have felt it, but money is going to start pouring in come January, February, because that's when huge amounts of money are going. So we're going to have so much money in saturation. And that's when also prices heat up and inflation also rise up. So those are the indications that are actually that are actually there. Our exports are not doing very well, and we're importing so much. It is also a Christmas season. So much is being imported into the country. So Bank of Uganda actually has a very hard time trying so much to control the inflation. We are glad that it's going to be recapitalized. I think more than 150 billion. But when you're capitalizing a central bank, you know that things are not well. You know, you capitalize for two major reasons. One, you are buying new assets, or you are getting bankrupt. So one of those two reasons is happening. So we are glad that the government is recapitalizing it so that it can still, wipe out these excess liquidity into saturation, but also stabilize our reserves, because our reserves are also getting low, and they signal how strong an economy is. So I'm very sure they're having very sleepless nights.
The rain bit of it is beyond our control. Whether it's government or members of parliament or pastors or anybody, that's natural. We have nothing to do about that now. It started raining at about 2 o'clock, I think.
Like the dry season.
Like the dry season was. And now you come on the rain, and come on the rain. It could actually still be raining in studios here. We don't know what is out there. But you realize that nobody now can manage to get to the gardens to do. And that's beyond our control. That's beyond us. And what then do we need to do to ensure that we at least, away from recapitalizing the central bank, what should we do, especially now? Talk to the politicians. what they need to tell the people to do as we get ready for the eventualities ahead of us?
I think the most important part is to reallocate resources to the agriculture sector.
To agriculture sector?
Yes, because you see, it is the only thing we have apart from tourism that we can say. Forget about oil. Oil is going to come probably me and you when we are dead. We are not doing this.
No, it's coming next year. It's coming 2017. It's coming 2017. Definitely.
I don't think I and you are ready to touch that fuel.
No, I want to be here when the fuel comes. I don't want to die before the fuel comes out.
There are two things we have in this country where we are good at: tourism and agriculture. If these MPs can decide to say, let us invest heavily in extension service, advise our farmers on how to grow the best crops